They say every family has its secrets. Some are harmless, old arguments, hidden debts, maybe even secret relationships. But what if your entire identity, your family, your home, was built on a lie? Hi. My name is Rachel. I'm 29, and until recently, I believed I came from a typical, loving family. We had our quirks, sure, my dad was overly strict, my mom a bit too quiet sometimes, but I thought that was just normal. I had a younger brother, Liam, who always looked up to me. We were the kind of family that took vacations together, celebrated birthdays with big dinners, and kept photo albums filled with smiling faces. But everything changed last summer. It started with a single letter, a yellowed envelope addressed to my father but mistakenly delivered to me while I was house-sitting during their anniversary trip. I never meant to open it. But once I did, I couldn't unsee what was inside. And what I uncovered would tear my world apart. It would make me question everything I knew about love, loyalty, and what it really means to be a family. This is the story of how my family's darkest secret came to light, and how it nearly destroyed all of us. It was just supposed to be a weekend. My parents were celebrating 30 years of marriage with a trip to Maine, and they asked me to house sit. Water the plants. Feed the cat. Easy stuff. I didn't expect any drama. But then, on Saturday morning, I picked up the mail. A bunch of coupons, a real estate flyer, and a thick envelope with no return address. The name on the front read, David Langford, my dad. I almost just left it on the table. Almost. But something about it felt off. It wasn't modern. The handwriting looked rushed, anxious. And the paper, it was old. Yellowed around the edges like it had been tucked away for decades. I shouldn't have opened it. But I did. Inside was a letter, handwritten in blue ink. It began. David. If you're reading this, it means I passed. I kept my silence all these years, but I couldn't die without telling the truth. You need to tell her. She deserves to know who she really is. My blood ran cold. Her? Who was her? Who was this from? I turned the envelope over again. There was a smaller note folded in the back, like an afterthought. To Rachel. I hope one day you forgive us. My hand shook. I didn't know what to think. The letter hinted at something big, something about me. But it wasn't specific. No names. No clear story. Just this haunting message. I called my dad. He didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. I tried my mom. Straight to voicemail. It was the first time in my life I felt that maybe something wasn't right. When my parents returned from Maine, I didn't bring up the letter right away. I needed to see how they acted. If they knew. And oh, they knew. My mom was jumpy. My dad avoided eye contact. When I casually mentioned getting their mail, I saw the blood drain from his face. That night, I slipped the letter back into his office drawer, the top one. Unlocked. I wanted to give them a chance to come clean. I waited. A week passed. Nothing. So I confronted them. We were having dinner, just the three of us. Liam was out with friends. I brought up the letter calmly. I expected yelling, denial, maybe confusion. But what I got was silence. Complete, suffocating silence. My dad stood up and left the table. My mom just looked down at her plate, hands trembling. Finally, she whispered, "You weren't supposed to find out like this." My stomach twisted. Find out what? She looked at me, eyes filled with tears. You're not our biological daughter, Rachel. We adopted you when you were a baby. My world shattered. I was adopted? How could they never tell me? I demanded answers. Turns out, I had been born to a woman named Eva Carson. She had died in a car crash shortly after I was born. Her husband, my biological father, was never found. There were rumors he'd run off. Abandoned her. Abandoned me. My parents had adopted me through a private agency. No foster care. No court drama. Just sealed records and a large donation to the agency to keep things discreet. But the truth was even messier. That letter? It wasn't just from anyone. It was from Eva's sister, my biological aunt, who had apparently kept tabs on me for years. She knew where I lived. She knew I'd been raised by the Langfords. And she knew the real reason behind Eva's death. It wasn't an accident. The night Eva died, she had been trying to escape her abusive husband. A man with connections, secrets, and a violent temper. And that man, my biological father, wasn't a stranger. He was David Langford. My dad, the man who raised me, was also the man who made my birth mother's life hell. He hadn't adopted me out of love. He adopted me out of guilt. I couldn't breathe. I locked myself in my apartment and didn't speak to them for days. How do you come to terms with the fact that the man who tucked you into bed at night, who taught you how to ride a bike, who gave you piggyback rides, also destroyed your real mother? Everything felt poisoned. My mother, my adoptive mother, eventually showed up at my apartment. She was sobbing. She claimed she never knew the full truth until years later. By then, she said, it was too late to undo it. I asked her why she stayed. She said, because I saw how much he loved you. And because I thought I could fix him. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know who I was anymore. Was I Rachel Langford? Was I Rachel Carson? Was I just the product of trauma being repackaged as love? I agreed to see my father one last time. It was in the garden, the same one he used to teach me how to plant tomatoes when I was 5. I brought the letter. I wanted him to see it in my hand. I wanted him to own it. He didn't deny anything. He just sat down on the stone bench and looked older than I'd ever seen him. I was a monster, he said. I lost control. I hit her. I threatened her. I didn't deserve forgiveness. I still don't. But you adopted me anyway? I asked. Yes, he said. I didn't know she was pregnant. When Eva died, and the agency contacted me, I thought I could make it right. By lying to me my entire life? I didn't want you to grow up knowing your father was a monster. Too late for that, Dad. I walked away. And for the first time in my life, he didn't stop me. The months that followed were brutal. Therapy sessions. Nightmares. Anxiety attacks. Identity crises. I changed my last name legally to Carson. I started therapy with survivors of family trauma. I even met with Eva's sister, my aunt, who told me stories about my mom. She was kind. Creative. She loved to draw. She used to sing in the shower. Things I'll never get to see for myself. But I'm trying. I'm trying to hold on to the good parts of my life without ignoring the darkness that birthed them. I still talk to Liam. He's been my rock through this all. We're not related by blood, but he's still my brother. He always will be. As for my adoptive mother, we're rebuilding. Slowly. And my father? I haven't seen him in almost a year. But I wrote him a letter. I told him I forgave him, not for what he did, but for the father he tried to be after the damage was done. I had to let it go. For me. Not for him. If you're watching this and your family feels perfect, hold on to that. Treasure it. But if you've ever felt like something doesn't add up, don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. Secrets have a way of festering. Of rotting beneath the surface. And when they finally come out, they don't just shake your world, they burn it down. But in the ashes, you can rebuild. Stronger. Wiser. And more honest. My name is Rachel Carson. I was born into violence, raised in silence, and reborn in truth. This is my story. And if it helps even one person find the courage to confront their past, then I'm glad I told it.